What's up, everyone? Welcome to the March 24th edition of DraftKings Tournament Plays presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Adam Scherer. You can follow me on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. And as a reminder, you get one free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up and make a deposit at Prize Picks. Be sure to use the code Awesemo to receive a 100% first deposit bonus up to $100. We have a 5-game NBA DFS slate tonight. This video is being recorded a bit later than usual because I went to record it the first time and Memphis ruled out half of their team. Indiana ruled out a few guys, so had to start over from the beginning, but hopefully that means that a little bit less changes between now and lock. Still, you'll want to tune into the deeper dive and live before lock as always for the 2 hours leading up until tip. We do still have some pretty big names on the injury report. It's probably going to be that way the rest of the season as teams tank/rest up for the playoffs. But for now, we're going to take a look at 5 of the top tournament options on DraftKings using the Boom Bust tool on the Awesemo.com website. Starting at number 5, Coby White, projected for about 11% ownership with a 16% chance of being in the optimal lineup. His playing time has certainly been down lately, and there's no real guarantee that he gets enough minutes tonight to be a great play, but there is volatility in his minutes. And on a slate like this, and in general, as you get towards the end of the season, in tournaments, there's going to be extra merit in kind of just taking risks on cheap players that have volatile minutes, because what typically is going to happen in roster construction is you're going to get some very, very, very good value options that put you in a position where either you're rostering players that are 60+% owned, or you're building lineups that don't have players that are extremely unlikely to fail. So one way you can counteract that, and you can build your lineups around players that are very popular but are also very safe, is to be willing to roll the dice on players that you can't really know for sure how many minutes they're going to play. Coby White fits that mold here because we do know that DeMar DeRozan is out tonight for Chicago. We know Lonzo is out. Obviously, Alex Caruso is back and has been starting. Ayo Dosunmu's been ahead of White in the rotation as well, but there are a lot of minutes available. DeMar DeRozan typically plays 37, 38 minutes in competitive games. Coby White has averaged 0.84 DraftKings points per minute so far this season. So at a $4,200 price tag, if he does find his way into 24 plus minutes, he could certainly be a good value tonight for the Bulls at relatively low ownership. Number 4, DeAnthony Melton, projected for 25% ownership with a 27% chance of being in the optimal lineup. Melton is someone that frequently doesn't get as many minutes as we would like from a fantasy standpoint because he is a good fantasy producer, but for one reason or another, Memphis just doesn't always play him as much as we would like them to. But tonight, no John Morant, no Dylan Brooks, no Brandon Clark, so a much more shorthanded Memphis team. Obviously, we didn't have Morant yesterday either, or last game. Yesterday. But we did have Dylan Brooks. We did have Brandon Clark. With Brooks out in particular, that really does open up minutes here. You could certainly get more for Kyle Anderson. You can get more for John Conchar. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it's actually Conchar that steps into the starting lineup. It could also be Zaire Williams stepping into the starting lineup. But DeAnthony Melton at 5K is a good point per minute fantasy producer, and he should see some increased minutes here. Even if he gets up to like 24 to 26 minutes, he's averaged 1.06 DraftKings points per minute overall this season. That's not including time where John Morant has been off the floor. His usage rate, goes up in those minutes. So still underpriced, but do pay attention to his ownership, and also keep in mind there's a good chance he comes off the bench. So don't be alarmed if you do get Zaire Williams or John Conchar starting ahead of DeAnthony Melton. It's still likely that he plays into the mid-20s. Number 3, Bobby Portis, projected for 35% ownership with a 40% chance of being in the optimal lineup. Portis is $6,500 with power forward and center eligibility. He takes on the Washington Wizards tonight, and he will be facing them without not only Chris Middleton, but also without Giannis Antetokounmpo. In the last game that Giannis Antetokounmpo missed, Portis started alongside Brook Lopez, and I expect that to be the case again tonight against the Wizards. At 6,500, assuming you're going to get around 28 to 30 minutes from Portis, he looks like a strong option given the increased rebounding percentage, usage rate, all of that. That's likely to come with Giannis being out. Number 2, Nikola Jokic, projected for 38% ownership with a 41% chance of being in the optimal lineup. Jokic is taking on the Phoenix Suns in what is likely to be a competitive, very good basketball game, and there's plenty of value on this slate and probably more to come. Jokic is the best point per minute fantasy producer on the slate by a wide margin since Giannis isn't playing, and he's likely to give you 33 or 34 minutes in tonight's game. $11,400 with center-only eligibility. One other thing working in his favor is there are still good center plays tonight, but maybe not quite as much opportunity cost at the position as you would normally have, since Toronto doesn't have a center only guy. Cleveland doesn't have a center only guy that we really care about. Washington, same thing. You have Valanciunas and Vooch are both, good plays. Indiana maybe has Goga Batadze, but he's questionable. Memphis, Steven Adams is, give or take, and then DeAndre Ayton kind of a neutral play as well. So just not quite as deep a center slate. Still some good plays at center, but a little bit easier, I think, to get to Jokic tonight than it is on the typical slate where you have, 6 or 7 very, very good centers that are a lot less expensive. And then number 1 coming in as the top tournament option on DraftKings, Zach LaVine, projected for 41% ownership with a 42% chance of being in the optimal lineup. LaVine is listed as available to play. There's no reason to think that he's going to be limited, and he should see an increase in production without DeMar DeRozan on the floor. Like I mentioned before when talking about Kobe White, DeRozan plays a ton of minutes, and so taking him out is going to open up a lot of usage for guys like LaVine and Vucevic. LaVine leads the team with 715 minutes played without DeMar DeRozan on the floor this season, 32.7% usage rate, 26.5% assist percentage, and 1.26 DraftKings points per minute over that stretch for LaVine. Likely to be a high-scoring game tonight against the New Orleans Pelicans as well. So to recap, the top 5 tournament options on DraftKings: number 5, Kobe White. Number 4, DeAnthony Melton. Number 3, Bobby Portis. Number 2, Nikola Jokic. And number 1, Zach LaVine.